Hey guys, what's up? I'm Wookie, and this is the second tutorial for the map making of the Arc Dev Kit. Uh, Basically, I'm going to be showing you guys how to use the Sculpt tool and whatnot in this tutorial. I've already messed around with it a little bit over here, and this is going to be the kind of what's going on. One thing real quick before we get started, we're going to go to Place, and we're going to go to the dirt plane no hole. Go ahead and move that thing down to for the location down to negative 200,000, just because I realize it gets in the way when we start sculpting it. So just get it way out of the way for now. We'll adjust it later. But anyways, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the sculpt tool. So we're going to go to landscape and sculpt, and obviously we're going to be sculpting the landscape. So we're going to go ahead and start off by just kind of going on the list. But the first tool is your sculpt tool. And as you can see here, this edits your brush size. The bigger your brush size, the laggier it may be. This is your tool strength, i.e. how fast it kind of does it sculpts things. So like if I have it on strength 1, it's going to sculpt a lot faster than have it on strength 0.07. Incredibly faster. But they both have their own uses. I mean, obviously strength 1's better for making things very quickly and very imprecise, while the lower strengths are better for making things that are of more precision. Anyways, we're going to keep the brush size about the same. We're going to adjust the brush fall off now. So as you can see, like there's two circles. So as you're going to see here, it's going to create kind of like a mountainous kind of thing, where it's got kind of a slope here, rather than just being a straight vertical line, which is much better for making practical things. So brush fall off, usually you're going to probably want pretty high, because I mean that looks much more realistic than that. I mean, they're very it's very obvious. But the next tool we're going to have here is the smoothing tool. So say we did go with a really strong brush strength, what we can do here is we can kind of smooth it out. And you got to be careful about some of these brush sizes because they will lag you. I just froze myself right here. I'll just give it 1 second, see if it catches up. But yeah, just keep your brush strength. I mean, when you're not sure how big it's going to hit your computer, you might not want to do it too hard. Like there we go. But you can see what it did. I'll go ahead and make my brush size a little smaller. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. But as you can see, it just kind of smooths it out for you, makes it a little more clean looking. But yeah, we're actually editing gigantic land masses. This is like the size of each of these are like the size of a mountain. It's just kind of hard to tell without like any scale going on here. We have no idea how big this really is without any scale. But anyway, that's how you use the smoothing tool. Obviously, you're going to want a pretty large brush fall off, otherwise it's going to be really strong and create like a really circly effect. So I'd create a pretty big brush fall off, as well as not the highest tool strength. You make a really high tool strength, it's going to look really circly as well. And then we're going to have the flatten tool. So flatten tool is a very unique one. What it basically does is it takes whatever height that you hover your thing at, and it'll make everything that height. So if I go like that, it made everything exactly that height. If I grab the side here, it'll make everything exactly that height, which is a very nice tool for when you're trying to flatten out kind of a plane or make it a good location for a base or whatnot. Like you can see, like makes a good land bridge all the way out to here. But while that's useful, you also don't want to make it too unrealistic. So I mean, obviously you're not going to see something like that actually generate in the world. Then right here, what we're going to do is, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, if you when you're sculpting, you can hold shift and then click, and it'll unsculpt basically, or go down into the ground and make a hole. So you can basically just like flat, like make it further down towards the ground. By the way, when you get your map, you can also make, I mean, the whole thing's like basically at the middle level, so you can like lower the entire map down to like just as high as you can. You can make it just as tall as you could lower it. So that's as high as you can go. But this is as low as you can go, all the way down here. So when you combine the two, it makes it pretty high that you can make all of your structures. But remember, you do have to keep into account this was going to be like the ocean height probably, and this is just going to be your mountain height, which doesn't look that large, but I'll show you here in a second. It's very large. But anyways, we're moving on to the flatten tool. But if I hold, if I edit these settings over here, I can make it to where it only raises things, and it won't lower them. So say if I grab this here, it will only raise it. So if I run up to here, it won't lower it. It'll just go the same height, which is really cool. Or if I do lower, I'll grab this here, and it won't make anything else taller, but it will lower things for you, as you can see. I made like a little valley there, so that's a very helpful tool. We're gonna put that back on both, and then we're gonna go to ramp. Ramp's a pretty cool tool in the sense that you can make kind of like these interesting ramps. I wouldn't exactly say just make a ramp and you're done, but one thing you can do is like say we'll click here and then up to here-ish, and we can click add ramp whenever I find my cursor. Cannot seem to find my cursor. Oh, it's lagging right now. That's what's happening. Okay, there we go. All right, we're going to click add ramp, and it's going to generate us a ramp from here to here, which is nice, but it does create this like little underlink thing. So what you're probably going to want to use that for is like, say, oh, I want to make players be able to run up this, make a ramp from here. Oops. From here to here, and then we'll just make it add ramp once it gets done lagging for a second. We'll make it add ramp, and then we're gonna kind of like edit it to make it look a little more realistic. You can obviously just kind of like smoothen this thing out once you've done that. I don't know. There we go. That obviously completely defeated the purpose, but don't make your tool strength so high when you're doing that, but it'll work. But then we have erosion here, and this will just kind of like erode it. It doesn't do anything when you're holding your mouse still, but when you kind of like shift it, it'll make it just go down a little bit. And then we have the hydro erosion, which will make it kind of a sporadic erosion, where it just kind of like dents things in certain places, making them kind of interesting for mountainsides and whatnot. Then we have noise, which just kind of does random stuff. You don't want to make your tool strength so high on that, but it'll kind of like it'll make some areas lower and some higher. So it's kind of annoying if you ask me, but if you're doing it at a really low setting, you might get some interesting like just kind of like effects going on for when you're generating your map. That way you can just cover a large plains and not really have to do much work, and it's already kind of like uneven and indifferent and interesting. And then we have the retopolize. I'm not really sure exactly what that is. And visibility makes it to where you can see through the map. I don't get that at all, but I suppose that could come in handy. But I'm not exactly sure how. So don't hold me to that one. But anyways, one more thing I'm going to show you guys real quick is you can go to place shift, then you can go to let's see, basic. You can drag a player start icon out here, and this will be a kind of like a little spawn point for your map. That's where you're going to spawn. And then we're going to go ahead and click play. It may take a few seconds the first time you load it, so don't worry. And then we're going to see just how big this really is. So as you can see, we are really high up. It's still a little bit hard to tell, but we are very, very, very tall. I'll show you the fall time. So if we look, this is going straight from like, this is like the highest point to the lowest point in the map, which is down there. It's kind of hard to see, but just the fall time should show you. I mean, it is very large. It doesn't look like it, but it is. Just the fall time is crazy on this whole thing. Obviously, we will be adding in water and whatnot, so keep that in mind when you're starting to mess around. We're going to go ahead and eject, click stop, and zoom back to the top. Now, always remember, you can, if you're holding down right click, you can and W to move around. You can scroll forward to go faster and scroll backwards to go slower. So that's a very helpful tool. You can also like change your camera speed here. But that's basically it for this little tutorial. Excuse me. But just keep in mind, like, this is just a monumental height. And just imagine, I mean, even this big circle when you spawn on this, it is huge. You can't even, like, the end of the map is so far away. It's just hard to imagine. I mean, just how big this map is. Just running around this circle would take forever. It's huge, but when we exit this launcher and we go out, we're like, oh, that doesn't look very big. So just keep in mind this map actually is gigantic. So don't worry too much about map size. But if you did want to make one even bigger, obviously, as I said in my last video, you definitely could do that. But that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe for more. And if you got any questions, feel free to post them in the description. And I'll see you guys next time.